I'm here again at the Sustainable Aviation Futures MENA Congress with Drew Meloan, the Senior Offering Management Leader of Honeywell UOP, who are one of our gold sponsors. So thank you so much for taking the time to speak to me. Thank you for supporting the event. I will dive right in. I know you've already been sharing a lot of information yesterday. I'm going to ask for some more from you. So my first question is, what do you see as the most significant challenges to the MENA region in achieving aviation decarbonisation and the widespread adoption of SAF?
Right. Well, I think that the challenges that the MENA region faces are really similar to the challenges that everywhere in the world is faced.
Yep.
Fundamentally, we have the technical solutions that we need to tackle the SAF transition. But there's a lack of clarity and a lack of logistic readiness. So what we really need right now, and it's been a recurring theme throughout this Congress, is collaboration, cross-collaboration between governments, between the industry, between the transportation sector, to get clarity on the legislation and qualification for SAF, on off-take agreements, on economic viability of these projects. That's definitely the number one hurdle that we face in this region and globally. And then to follow that up, feedstock consolidation. Everywhere in the world is facing some sort of challenge in terms of feedstock availability, consolidation for massive SAF production. In this area, it's a lot of questions around how do we collect that many electrons in a single location, how many carbon capture projects or what other form of carbon are we going to be able to consolidate. So the same questions that are faced everywhere, but there are some unique advantages here versus other areas.
And that leads me really nicely on to my next question, but I think one thing is everyone that I've spoken to has mentioned that collaboration piece is really needed, which it's kind of encouraging if everybody thinks the challenges are the same. Everybody's hopefully working to overcome the same challenges. But my next question is, obviously MENA is really, and particularly Dubai and Saudi Arabia are really keen to become global hubs for innovation and technology. So how do you see that lending itself to alternative decarbonisation innovations in the future, and where do you see that going in the region?
Right. Well, MENA's already off to a really strong start. There are massive renewable energy projects here ongoing, world famous, world scale, and that's an excellent start. I think what we really need to keep an eye out for here is innovations in the renewable power generation sector, innovations in electrolyzer efficiency, just electrolyzer production capacity. That's step one for this region, I think. And we also see this as a region where there's a lot of potential for decarbonization because there's a ton of industry here. So, an advantage that MENA brings to the table is that when it comes to knowledge of hydrocarbon processing and chemical processing, this region is second to none. There's a lot of expertise. There's a lot of installed base. What we need to do is connect A to B. We need to connect the green electrons and those green power sources to that know-how and somehow assimilate, the industry and the resources that we have here with the renewable potential of the region. And the steps are there. We see commitments from governments here. Connecting that to SAF is an entirely different thing. And that's where, it sort of ties back to what we just talked about, that need for collaboration across the entire value chain so that we can establish an economic path.
Fantastic. And speaking of connecting that to SAF, what do you feel is the awareness from governments, key industry players, potential investors in SAF? What's the awareness level in the region, and do you feel like it's enough to get us where we need to be to meet our 2050 goals?
Right. So awareness is growing. It has grown rapidly. You take a look at the attendance of this event versus the attendance last year. And not just the attendance, the sophistication of the conversations. Last year, you needed somebody to sit down and explain to you what the qualifications to be SAF are. Now we're talking about the nuances of the past legislations and, the precise chemical pathways to get us from point A to point B. That's over the course of a single year. So the awareness is growing, the education is growing, the interest from investors, from governments, from technology companies is absolutely growing. Is it enough to get us where we need to go? The goals are really, really aggressive and really optimistic, I think. But fundamentally, as long as we can get the investment, we can get buy-in across the value chain, I do believe that there's a ton of potential here.
Yeah.
You take a look at the energy availability in this region and the capturable carbon available in this region, and power to liquids makes a lot of sense.
Yep.
There's a huge focus on that in this region, and I think it's going to manifest, really soon.
Encouraging. Good. We like to hear it.
Yeah.
So I'd love to hear a little bit more about Honeywell's roadmap for particularly converting existing fossil fuels infrastructure into infrastructure for SAF. And as a big player, what do you feel is your role as a trailblazer, or I suppose an influencer in that transition?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Honeywell, we consider ourselves to be an integral part of this entire process. Right? We're already engaged at every step. We are already heavily involved in power generation. We're already heavily involved in, obviously, refining technologies, right? UOP being one of the oldest refinery technologies companies in the world. We consider that we can contribute not just in terms of technology supply, but also in our control systems, monitoring, software. We engage at a lot of different touch points. And so we consider this to be an area where we are going to be part of the solution, and we're going to be part of the solution from start to finish.
Yeah.
Key insights that we can bring are sort of traceability of electrons from point A to point B, traceability of carbon from point A to point B, integrating these holistic supply chains.
Yeah.
And so our roadmap to sort of enabling SAF is to, permit qualification of the end products.
Yeah.
And also to put the whole picture together and offer technology solutions for each of those difficult steps. And so we're actively researching and developing in every single step of this value chain. We're talking to governments. We're trying to be part of those roundtable discussions. We're actively involved in aircraft conversations that have been coming up repeatedly here. So we're trying to push and pull this industry into existence.
Well, good luck. I mean, doing a fantastic job so far. I think my last kind of key question is around what do you feel is the trajectory, I've struggled with that one, of PTL adoption in the region? Obviously, Honeywell is doing a lot to further that cause, but what do you think the trajectory is at the moment?
The trajectory here is absolutely second to none, because this is where we see the largest hydrogen projects manifesting. When you talk power to liquids, step one, no matter what your selected pathway is to generate a bunch of hydrogen.
Yep.
It's not an e-fuel if the energy doesn't come from green electricity. And so, the massive infrastructure development here and the massive commitment to electrolysis projects makes the Middle East uniquely placed relative to everywhere else in the world for power to liquids. I think because they recognize the potential here versus everywhere else in the world. So it's really, really nice to see governments and to see the industry come together in this region to kick off power to liquids. The next step, of course, the next milestone, as it were, is going to be derivatives.
Yes.
And that is somewhere where UOP is really trying to focus everyone's attention at this conference. What are the technology pathways to those derivatives and finding the most efficient solution?
Fantastic. Thank you. And one last question. Why does Honeywell UOP participate in Sustainable Aviation Futures Congresses? And particularly, what have you found useful at the event so far? Have you got any key takeaways from the Congress?
Yeah, well, we think that this is a really, really effective conference in the sense that we tend to see a lot of different players from a lot of different parts of the industry. And, that's one of the reasons that we think that the SAF Futures Congress, globally, really, really is an effective meeting of the minds. I spoke about the need for that collaboration, and this is one of the places where that collaboration can take place. While I've been here, I've spoken to government officials, I've spoken to folks in the aircraft industry, I've spoken to folks, off-takers, our technology, power companies, and even ancillary, industries that I didn't even know were interested in SAFs. That kind of cross-pollination is the value here, and we've absolutely gained insights here that we're going to take home and chew on and try to, turn into our commercial strategies moving forward.
Fantastic. That's really good to hear. That's obviously what we want to aim to provide. So good. I'm glad. Thank you. Thank you so much for taking the time to speak to me. Again, thank you for your support of the event. It's been great. And I hope you have a lovely rest of your day and the last day tomorrow.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.